you consider yourself a cynic? Well, before you answer, what do you think the standard of being a cynic even is? Let's take a look at this man. He lives in a barrel, pees in the street, and constantly talks down to people, even those of higher standing. This makes him an excellent comedian and an even better philosopher. That's right, this is Diogenes, the father of cynicism. Diogenes was born in Sinope around the end of the 4th century BCE and was soon exiled for defacing currency with the help of his father, who was actually a banker and coin maker. It was rumored he was told by an oracle to deface the currency, which to him meant money as well as the status quo. So he ventured to Athens after his exile, a powerhouse of modern thinking at the time, to stir up some trouble. Diogenes' beliefs circled around cynicism, and he thought, at everyone's core, people were bad and inherently selfish, something he openly expressed by waving a lamp in the middle of the day, claiming to find an honest man. With the amount of slaves working, leaving people to think and enjoy themselves, this was probably true. Lots of Diogenes' life is very unclear, and there aren't a lot of concrete facts about him due to the fact he was a social outcast and people probably didn't want to talk to him. Why wouldn't they? He is such a stud. However, being a homeless lunatic made him kind of a prominent figure, even more so with his encounters with famous figures or daring, shameless acts. An example? Alexander the Great, who Diogenes had told to get out of his sunlight and claimed his father's bones were indistinguishable from those of a slave. Accounts also claimed Alexander was quite impressed by Diogenes. Diogenes had also believed there was nowhere to spit in a rich man's house except for his face, and that he liked to drink wine that wasn't his. Perhaps his most outrageous move was opposing Plato's definition of a man by holding up a featherless chicken right in front of his lecture. Obviously, he isn't hailed as a saint, and the general consensus is that he's a bit of a loon, something people still claim to this day. However, most controversies are what happened and what didn't. The only documents of him and his actions are found with writers and oral accounts. Most notably, his encounters with Alexander are recorded by Plutarch, a Greek author. Still, regardless of what he did, people considered him a prominent philosopher. He created a branch of philosophy that, at the time, was unseen and made him look crude and strange, even if the reasoning was quite simple. Live a modest, minimalist life, and remember that the humanity in everyone could be good or bad, but mostly bad. Other than the people who ran into him, Diogenes had left a lasting impression with his teachings of cynicism on philosophers and normal people alike. A modern example is shown in the 1960s, where people, though not living in barrels, did believe in living the most simple, natural life and rejecting the status quo and modern standards. Just like Diogenes, these people, hippies, were also seen as odd for being so against the norm. As the story goes, Diogenes was eventually kidnapped and sent to Corinth as a slave, where he became a tutor to the children of another philosopher, Xeniades. He lived there until he died in 323 BCE. Being a very quotable man, he had a good one in that bunch. Unlike his others, this wasn't too cynical. It goes like this. The foundation of every state is in the education of its youth. If anything we should take away from Diogenes, it's this, and probably the wine. Either way, you probably understand cynicism a little better now. So I ask you again, would you consider yourself a cynic?